Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Jeffrey Epstein Show. I'm your host, Bobbycapucci, and this is a morning update. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to this early edition of the morning update. I have this one coming out so early because I'm headed to the mountains so that I could spend a few hours climbing, hiking, adventuring, and just generally unwinding for a little while. I haven't been able to go to the mountains for the last, 7 or 8 days, considering I've been busy and the holidays and all of that jazz. So this morning, it's time to go and get it in. I plan on spending the whole morning out here, and I also plan on eating at least 10 to 12 miles. So I should be good and tired by the time this whole adventure is over and done with. But what we're going to talk about this morning, as far as the show, is just more in the way of Prince Andrew's downfall. More that points towards the fact that the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family is never making a return to the royal family. He's done. His time has come and his time has passed. And frankly, returning to the royal family should be the least of his problems at this point. This is a man who is accused of some heinous shit, right? This is a man, and I use that word loosely, by the way, when we're talking about this guy, who should come forward and speak to the authorities like he said he would do. It's the honorable thing, after all, isn't it, Joe Exotic of the Windsor family? But we never got that from him. We never got any honor from him. We never got anything that could even be misconstrued as doing the honorable thing. All we got from Andrew was more BS, more, well, I have offered to speak with the authorities, and more nonsense from his legal team and handlers. I don't know how he or the people in his very small circle at this point could even possibly think about or entertain the idea that he is going to be welcomed back with open arms as a working royal, as somebody who is representing not only the royal family, but the people of England. As if shit isn't bad enough around the world, as if people aren't going through enough with all of these lockdowns, and especially in a place like England right now, with tier 5 lockdowns. All they need is this idiot also out there causing waves and acting like he's representing them or the royal family. I'm pretty sure that the people of England have better people amongst them to be their representatives. Certainly not Andrew, okay? So the whole lame-brained idea of him thinking he was coming back to so-called polite society, for him to even think that he was going to be welcomed back as a royal, was always an off-the-wall, zero-chance idea. And we talked about that here when he was first throwing these ideas off the wall and hoping they would stick. And we were talking about how that does not seem like a likely outcome for Andrew and his current situation. And more than likely, I said back then, that it was his PR team that was putting this stuff out. Feelers, right? To get a feel for what the situation was. What's the pulse of the public? Where does the royal family sit on all of this? And that is what him and his team were doing, but they were trying to set it up as, oh, people close to Andrew, friends of Andrew. And anytime I hear that, or anytime I hear about people close to Andrew say, I automatically think that it's his legal team and those that are representing him. Because we saw Ghislaine Maxwell use the same strategy, right? We saw her try to manipulate things through the media. The hack, this, that, the other thing, having Laura Goldman supposedly speak for her. And all the while, the message was never what she was putting out. It was always something that you had to read in between the lines to see what she was doing. For example, with the emails saying they were hacked, that was a pure leverage play by Ghislaine Maxwell. She was leveraging the people that were not under as much scrutiny as her, perhaps, or the people that publicly weren't being as looked at as hard as her, but she was letting them know that she still had the keys to all of the skeletons and the closets where they were buried, and that they better be on their P's and Q's, and that they better do the right thing. And that is what I got from Ghislaine Maxwell and her salvo that she blasted through the media a few months back before she was arrested. So you got to always be cautious of these people when they're coming out in the media and saying anything. And the same goes for the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family. Obviously, he has handlers. He has people that are massaging, trying to refurbish his image. And these are the same people that will come out and they will try and say that, oh, well, friends of Andrew, or reality. This guy is pretty much friendless at this point, I would think. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm sure there's a few sycophants that are sticking around, hoping beyond hope that he'll turn this ship around and he'll end up restoring his place. And then in turn, they could ride his coattails. But I think that's a losing wager. That's certainly not a wager I'd be making, and that is certainly the kind of wager, if I was the house, I'd be salivating to take. Because the odds most certainly are stacked against the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family coming back to public service. And honestly, he really should be more worried about staying out of legal trouble at this point, and not so worried about his status as far as the pecking order in the royal family is concerned. All right, so our article this morning is from Newsweek.com. Headline: Prince Andrew to miss birthday tribute that caused Jeffrey Epstein backlash. Boy, isn't that ironic, huh? Bet you he missed the other one. I bet you he wished he missed the other one instead of this one. Bet he wishes now, that it's all been outed anyway, that he never would have hung around with Jeffrey Epstein. No, not because he thinks Epstein's a bad guy, or because he's remorseful because of what happened to the girls, but because he got caught. And when you're a narcissist like him, well, that's all that matters, right? What happened to you? How it affected your life, that Jeffrey Epstein was a pedophile who was caught, that you are caught up in the web because of your alleged behavior with Virginia Roberts. So, again, this guy has nobody to blame but himself. This article was authored by Jack Royston. Once again, just in case I missed that. Joe Exotic's birthday bell ringing tribute has been canceled due to COVID, as Britain's most famous royal church avoids a post-Jeffrey Epstein scandal, Newsweek can reveal. And now remember, when this was all coming out in the beginning, that they were still going to do the ringing of the bell ceremony for him, that it was grossly disgusting that they would even consider celebrating this man's birthday. And they went into all of the details, how, that's controlled by the royal family, blah, 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 and that they had all intentions of still ringing the bells. Well, now, using COVID as a cover story, a nice, even if it's not really a cover story, even if it's because of COVID, really, it gives them a nice out, so they don't have to deal with it at least, right? So they just say, look, this is COVID related. We're not ringing the bells because of COVID. No more questions. And then they get off of the hook. The bells don't get rang for Andrew, and they don't have to deal with the criticism for going ahead with the celebration. Westminister Abbey holds a special place in history as the venue for Queen Elizabeth II's wedding, Princess Diana's funeral, and Prince William's wedding to Kate Middleton. However, There was criticism last year after its bells were rung on February 19th to mark Prince Andrew's 60th birthday, even though he had stepped back from royal duties in disgrace. And there was a big outcry, right? A big uproar. Nobody really was happy with the fact that they were celebrating this idiot's birthday, and people were very vocal about it, as they should be. Now, it's one thing for us to sit in America and, criticize Andrew and criticize the royal family. We're not the one footing the bill. So I'm sure the people of England are even more pissed than we could possibly imagine overseas. These people are representing them. I guess it's the way that we feel about someone like Bill Clinton would be a good example. He's an embarrassment. And I'm sure that the majority of people feel that same exact way about Prince Andrew at this point. Probably even more. Because Bill Clinton most certainly has not had his day of reckoning as far as Jeffrey Epstein's concerned. Whereas Prince Andrew has been completely and utterly eviscerated over it. As he should be, by the way. But Clinton, I hope his day is coming at some point. Because his story and Andrew, they're very similar as far as high-profile people who were caught up in Epstein's web. Now, again, no allegations that we know of against Clinton as far as abusing anyone with Epstein, but I'm talking about the plays for power and the quid pro quo that was occurring between the two. Just 3 months earlier, the Duke of York had given a car crash interview, Hindenburg-level crash, by the way, car crash is putting it mildly, to the BBC's Emily Maitlis, in which he failed to say he regretted his friendship with a convicted pedophile. That was one of many mistakes made by the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family during that interview. That interview was legit one of the cringiest things I've ever seen in my life. This dude was obviously not being honest. He was obviously skating around the truth, whatever his version of it was anyway. And he's so adamant and so down the rabbit hole of the lie that he can't even admit to ever even meeting Virginia Roberts. And when that occurred, right, when he lied like that on air, that was, I think, the death knell for him, considering there's the picture and the corroborating witnesses and all of that stuff. Why would you lie about even meeting her if nothing untoward occurred? You could easily run the line of, hey, look, I'm a royal, I'm the prince, a lot of people want to meet me. Sure, I took a picture with her, but that was the end of it. But instead it's, I don't even know who she is, my fingers are too fat, I can't sweat, I can't ride horses. I mean, give me a break already. And these are the excuses that some people have bought hook, line, and sinker. Now, not many people, mind you, but there are a few. Even a few reporters are still hanging on to their cognitive dissonance, thinking beyond all thoughts that this man is innocent, and this never occurred, and the bathtub is too small, dun dun dun. I mean, give me a break. They've had all this time to come back and answer the charges. They've had all of these years, all of these resources, all of this money, connection, and power, and they still have not been able to answer the very basic questions that have to do with this case. I know, they'll just plead the fifth. And while that's completely acceptable, and that is well within your right, that is granted to you under the Constitution in America, that does not give you the ability for the public to just say, all right, well, they pleaded the fifth, no more questions then. You might give yourself some cover in a deposition, but you're going to open yourself up to all kinds of questions in the public forum. There were discussions within the Abbey over the summer about slimming down the bell-ringing schedule so that it would only include Queen Elizabeth II, Prince Philip, Prince Charles, Prince William, and Prince George's birthdays, a source told Newsweek at the time. And again, that would have been another big time out for them. They could have just went in, redone the rules, and been done with it. But the fact that they were being so petulant, the fact that they were acting like the bells had to be rung out of some sort of tradition is It's galling and ridiculous. Breaking news, you're the queen. You can do whatever you want. If you don't want those bells to ring for your kid, they're not going to ring for your kid. One phone call would make it happen. But when the celebration goes ahead and the celebration goes on, it looks like the Queen and the royal family don't give a damn about the allegations, the survivors, or the fact that old Handsy Andy, the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family, is not doing the honorable thing and helping the authorities like he said he would. Meaning no decision on whether to cancel Andrew's birthday bells will need to be taken until the schedule for next year is produced. Again, this is the ultimate out for them, and I'm sure that the Queen is wiping her brow as we speak. Now, we know Andrew can't wipe his brow because he can't sweat, according to him, but we know that the Queen is happy that this decision doesn't have to be made, or that she doesn't have to go against the grain or against the public and still ring the bells for her deviant of a child. An Abbey source told Newsweek there won't be any bell ringing at least until March, and even then it would be very dubious, I would have thought. Again, with what's going on over in England, with the lockdowns and the shutdowns and the different tiers and how aggressive things have become over there as far as battling the second wave of the coronavirus, I could definitely see no bells being, sounding out in honor of anybody at this point. They wouldn't want to encourage people to show up and congregate, I would think. So if people can't have Christmas and people can't have New Year's Eve with their families, then guess what? The Joe Exotic of the Windsor family can live without the bells being smashed off in honor of his name. Britain was yesterday plunged into a full national lockdown, with Cabinet Minister Michael Gove today saying restrictions may not be eased until March, later than Andrew's birthday on February 19th. Yo, that's crazy. Over there in England, for all of the listeners, man, hang in there, folks. I can't even imagine what you folks are dealing with right now. We're going through, and the stress and stuff. It's terrible. We had, the shutdowns that we had here in Las Vegas, and that was bad enough. But I mean, it seems to me like this is really getting pretty serious as far as those lockdowns go in England. And what that tells me is they're not very confident in their information as far as this new strain. So if over there in England, listeners, audience members, please keep yourselves safe. Wash your damn hands, please. Quoted on Sky News, Gove said, "I think it's right to say that as we enter March, we should be able to lift some of these restrictions, but not necessarily all." So they're facing it over in England, folks. They're really up against it, and all the way through March. So I guess we'll see what happens as far as the bells ringing for the royal family, but it certainly looks like the bells ringing for the Joe Exotic of the Windsor family is right out the window. The strictest lockdown rules will be reviewed on February 15th, but even a partial relaxation would not enable Andrew's birthday tribute. Aw, poor baby. Poor baby. This dude should never have any sort of tribute in his honor paid for by the taxpayers. If his family wants to have a party for him, that's fine and well, but it should not be on the taxpayers' dime. I hear Fergie has a YouTube channel now. Maybe she can foot the bill. Sources close to Prince Andrew's legal team told Newsweek in October it is his intention to return to public duties. Sources close to Prince Andrew's legal team. What did I say? That's exactly what it is. It's not sources close to his legal team. It's his legal team. It's his PR team. Those are the people that are out there whispering in the ear of the media. And then the media runs it like it's actually friends of Prince Andrew. Oh, don't think that all of his allies are gone in the media. That's certainly not the case. There are plenty of bipedal serpent-loving members of the media, no doubt about it. As a royal peculiar, the Abbey comes under the direct jurisdiction of the monarchy, meaning any future decision on whether to ring the bells for Andrew will have to be taken in consultation with the royal household. That's what I was talking about a little bit ago. I remembered from those other articles we read that it was solely up to the Queen and the royal family how these protocols were put into place, and if the bells were used as an honorific for somebody. So, again, the Queen holds all the power here. She could have said no. Last birthday, she didn't. This birthday, well, they have themselves an out now with COVID, but I would think that even without the threat of COVID hanging over everybody, that the Queen would have enough sense to not ring the bells in honor of her son, who is allegedly involved with somebody like Jeffrey Epstein. However, when his birthday bell ring was initially included in a schedule over the summer, it triggered negative publicity from organizations ranging from Vanity Fair to Fox News. That's true. There was a pretty much across-the-board panning of it. I know that everybody that I talked to was not too pleased, thought it was, at the very least, distasteful. And I'm not shocked that it was panned across the board either, because you don't have to, be a hardcore ideologue, right? And even if you are a hardcore ideologue, you should look at something like this and say, man, this guy's a piece of work. This dude had all the privilege in the world and absolutely refused to speak to the authorities. So why should anyone ring bells as an honorific in his name? In the summer, Nigel Cawthorne, author of biography Prince Andrew, Epstein and the Palace, told the Daily Express, there was an enormous uproar at the beginning of the year when the government requested that local councils celebrate Prince Andrew's 60th. In the end, it didn't happen, though the bells of Westminister Abbey did ring. So the bells rang, but remember, they took down the flags. I forget what the flag is. There's a special name for it. They took down those flags that were supposed to be hung to honor Andrew at a lot of these local municipalities. And I thought that was a nice thumb in the eye to the royals and a way for the local townships to voice their displeasure with having to basically be forced to celebrate a man accused of heinous crimes. Although the Queen is the supreme governor of the Anglican Church, she cannot tell the churches what to do on her own. The exception is Westminster Abbey, which falls directly under her responsibility. It would be a major sign of displeasure if she failed to ring the bells again for his 61st birthday. So, for those of you who aren't hip, all of that stuff with the church and the Queen ruling over the church, that all happened during the split, when England split away from the Catholic Church. So that's all of that theology stuff. But Westminster Abbey is directly under the Queen's responsibility. So, like I was saying, she's the one who's going to make the call. Either you're going to ring them bells or you're not. There's really no middle ground. So if those bells are used to honor Andrew, then we know that it was the Queen's decision, and she should be criticized for it. But if she doesn't, well, then we know that the Queen is also voicing her displeasure with Andrew, even if it's just by not having these honors given to him. I think that sends a big message to the public if she goes that route. Back in February last year, there was also plans to fly the flag for the prince at council buildings across Britain. Graham Smith, chief executive of anti-monarchy campaign group Republic, said at the time, "This is crass and offensive, and even at the best of times, it is nonsense to be flying flags for Andrew's or anyone else's birthday." Well, obviously this guy is a non-monarchist, non-loyalist, and he thinks that the whole entire thing is bollocks, as they would say across the pond. Shouldn't be honoring this guy's birthday. What is he, just because he's a royal? So there was a lot of pushback over that flag stuff. And like I said, a lot of places, I'm thinking just about all of them, in fact, didn't fly the flag. An Abbey statement reported by Reuters in February said, Westminster Abbey is a royal peculiar, and the bells are rung for the birthdays of H.M. the Queen and H.R.H. the Duke of Edinburgh, their children, and the Duke and Duchess of Cambridge and their children. Well, just because that's how it always been, doesn't mean that's how it has to stay. Don't you remember when you were a kid? What they said to you? Rules were meant to be broken? Well, usually after they said that to you and then you broke the rules, got a wooden spoon across your ass. Well, in my house anyway. But here we are. So just because those are the rules and that's how things have always been there, doesn't mean that's how they have to stay or that they have to ring those bells. So I would hope that the Queen would not ring these bells even if the COVID pandemic passes or there's a lull and they're able to if they wanted. I hope that she would choose not to do it. The Abbey website states, following the latest guidelines from the Church of England and the Central Council of Church Bell Ringers, ringing at the Abbey by our volunteer bell ringers is currently suspended during the coronavirus outbreak. All right, hold on. There's a Central Council of Church Bell Ringers? What in the world? How do you join that club? I wonder what the handshake is. They have a special handshake to get into the church bell ringers? How about a union? Do they have a union as well? That's some funny shit, boys and girls. Anyway, here we are. The Church Bell Ringers Union can't go out and ring the bells because of COVID. Andrew isn't getting his honorifics. And the dance goes on. Andrew is not coming back into public life as far as I can see it. And to be honest with you, as soon as his mom steps down and is no longer the Queen, then Andrew's life is about to get a lot more difficult, even outside of this Epstein stuff. Because I have a funny feeling that his brother is not going to want this dude anywhere around him when he takes the reins of power and becomes the King of England. And when that time comes, Andrew will be even more of a pariah than he is now. If you'd like to contact me, you can do that at bobbycapucci@protonmail.com. That's BOBBYCAPUCCI@protonmail.com. You can also find me on Twitter at BOBBY_CAPUCCI. All of the links that go with this episode can be found in the description box. All right, folks, I'll be back later on tonight with the Daily Drop, and we'll wrap up everything that we talked about. We'll pick up whatever news stories that they drop, and we will continuing on. Until then, everybody, enjoy your day.